Greetings to you all on this Sunday mid-morning. Today, my YouTube episode has nothing to do with the three usual themes. Nothing to do with Nagorno-Karabakh, nothing to do with COVID-19, and also nothing to do with the Middle East, North Africa, and Gulf regions. Instead, I'm going to take a few precious moments of your time to speak about three other themes in a far more relaxed and casual manner. The first one is on the centenary, the 100th anniversary of the formation of Northern Ireland. The second one is on the Easter celebrations by many of the Orthodox communities worldwide today. And third, finally, last but not least, I want to talk very briefly about the holy month of Ramadan. So let me start with Northern Ireland. Now, you might well ask, what is an Armenian doing talking about Northern Ireland? Well, that's because this Armenian, yours truly, has an abiding friendship with many Irish people, both in the Republic as well as in Northern Ireland, and also someone who has worked and who has lived in Northern Ireland. Now, I'm not going to spend many minutes talking about my life and drawing up an autobiographical portrait of what I did, where I went, how and when, but I would like to highlight just one chapter of my life that is connected with Ireland, and then perhaps draw a conclusion or the moral of that incident. Many moons ago, I used to go out with an Irish woman. Her name is Aida. Now, Aida, for many of you, immediately springs up as one of the operas by Verdi in 4 acts. Now, this opera, Aida, is set in ancient Egypt, and it's a timeless story of love, of betrayal against the backdrop of war. The story takes place in Egypt, and Aida is an Ethiopian princess who is held captive and who falls in love with an Egyptian general. Now, enough on Aida and enough on the opera. But Aida and I went out for a few years together, and interestingly enough, she was half Irish and half Armenian. Now, that's quite a combination. And she and her family lived in County Down in Northern Ireland. And I have so many fond memories of spending weekends there, holidays there, going there to County Down and going up that steep hill, which those of you who know County Down would recognize it, Tullybrannigan Road, and right at the top of that road was a cottage. And the cottage was called Jerusalem Cottage. And that's where Aida and her family lived. And interestingly enough, her mom, who was Armenian, hailed originally from Jerusalem. So look what a small world it is. Who would have thought that one day I would meet somebody who's half Irish, half Armenian, living in Northern Ireland, and that she and I would try to found a relationship together. Now, I learned a lot during these years with Aida, not least my love of horses, and not least those blazing fireplaces, which today probably are unlawful and cannot happen, those blazing fireplaces in bedrooms in a wintry night. It is so attractive to hear the crackling noises and the fire behind the net. Anyway, As I lived there, and sometimes I used to drive the car and we would go to Belfast or we would go elsewhere, say to go for a drink or to visit other friends or what have you. People who know Northern Ireland during the Troubles know also of those flying checkpoints or other checkpoints for that matter that suddenly came up and people were checked who were moving in the city or moving from one place to another, or for that matter, those who were going from Northern Ireland to Ireland itself. Things that disappeared, thankfully, for many, many years. And I'm sort of dreading what could happen now with the spate of violence that we witnessed recently and with the impact of Brexit on the Good Friday Agreement and on the way of life in Northern Ireland. But when I used to take the car and we would go somewhere, Aida and I, we would sometimes come across those checkpoints. Now, it was very, very normal for the papers to be checked of the driver to see who are the passengers, where are they going, etc., etc. And this happened incidentally all across Northern Ireland, but also, as I said, crossing into Ireland itself. Funnily enough, of all the times that I've been there, and there have been many times when I came across one of those checkpoints as well, they would look at me driving this car with a woman sat next to me. And the minute they looked at me, they realized immediately that this face does not really show any Irish affiliation, that this guy is neither Catholic nor Protestant in the Irish definition of that sense of belonging. And when I spoke, it was quite clear to the person looking through the window into the car that this guy is not from Ireland, and therefore immediately allowed to pass and continue driving. Now, you might wonder, of all the stories, and there are far more interesting stories, certainly horse riding stories, but also serious stories. Of all those serious stories that I can recount today, this Sunday on this YouTube, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because today, particularly with the centenary of the formation of Northern Ireland, many religious leaders and civic leaders are talking about how people should be reconciled, how they should overstep their differences, how they should work together, etc., etc. And I just thought, here was I, somebody who certainly did not show that affiliation with one community or the other, and who sort of passed smoothly, sailed through checkpoints without any problem. Would it not be great if Northern Ireland and the Northern Irish people of all denominations, Methodist, Presbyterian, Church of Ireland, Catholic, whether Republican or Unionist, whatever the background, that they actually start looking at the other as a human being, not as somebody who's representing an ethnicity, a religion, an affiliation that is at odds, at cross purposes with their own, and therefore raising the suspicions and raising the animosity amongst communities. If that were to happen, that would be the biggest breakthrough to match the Good Friday Agreement and to match all other attempts at reconciliation. And I would just throw here one little serious reference amongst the many that I can talk to you about on my visits to the Coromila Center in Northern Ireland. Now you might ask, what is Coromila? Coromila is in Ballycastle in County Antrim. And it was founded by a Presbyterian minister, I think in the mid-1960s. And the aim of Coromila is reconciliation, forming communities who come and stay there for a while, and through those communities overcome the divisions and the mistrust between A and B or C and D. It's one of many, many other attempts that many church leaders and civic societies and grassroots organizations have tried to do and have succeeded to some extent, but not, in my humble opinion, as an outsider, not entirely yet. So to all my friends today, whether in Northern Ireland or in the Republic itself, I say one thing only, my hope, whether Ireland is reunified, whether Ireland stays in a different format, whatever happens with the anxious moments related to Brexit, trade, all the way to personal beliefs and religion, I hope today that, like my story, this tiny little personal story with Aida, that the day will come when people could sail through virtual checkpoints from one neighborhood to the other without fearing or risking life and limb. Okay, that's enough for Northern Ireland. Otherwise, you'll tell me, Harry, stop preaching. This is not your job. The second thing I just want to say is today is also Easter for many of the Orthodox communities. About a month ago, we celebrated Easter, and a month later, different Christian communities are celebrating Easter. Why? Because they're not celebrating a different resurrected Christ, they're actually celebrating according to different calendar, whether it's the Gregorian calendar or the Julian calendar, which determines when the Easter date kicks in. And it's very interesting because today's celebration, and I go a little bit, I drift a little bit to my neighborhood, the Middle East, North Africa, the Coptic Orthodox, the Syrian Orthodox, the Ethiopian Orthodox communities. In Jerusalem, the Greek Orthodox, the Armenian Orthodox are celebrating Easter. And yesterday, for those in the know, they also realized that it was that famous touristic, attractive, but also dangerous event of the Holy Fire at the Holy Sepulchre, the Church of the Resurrection, in the heart of the old city in Jerusalem. It happened yesterday. There's a whole story there. I've got many ideas and thoughts about that. No, don't worry, I'm not going to raise them with you. All I would say is that just as they congratulated us for our Easter a month earlier, I and many people I know like me will congratulate them for Easter Sunday today, for celebrating the resurrected Christ. Because ultimately, the Paschal celebrations are not only about colored eggs and chocolate bunnies, it is also about something far, far more serious, more solemn, and more meaningful. So to all these people, happy Easter. Christos anesti, alitos anesti. Hallelujah. But with the hallelujah comes a wish. If we all believe as Christians in the one Jesus Christ, who died on the cross and was resurrected for the sake of the salvation of humankind, would it not be good if we redouble our ecumenical efforts and tackle the human calendar in order to start celebrating Easter together, rather than having this anomaly of Jesus is born on different dates for different communities in different parts of the world, and then he's resurrected on different dates for different communities across different parts of the world. First of all, that for me as a practicing Christian is schizophrenic. It's even more baffling for non-Christians or people of no faith who look in and sort of say, blimey, how many times does their Jesus get born, and how many times does Jesus Christ get resurrected? Come on. When we preach about all sorts of nice things, perhaps we should also look deep into our hearts and ask ourselves one question. Are we willing to forego some of our own rituals for the common good? Some countries, Jordan is an example, they do this. All of them go for Christmas with one calendar, and all of them go for Easter with another calendar. If only others would follow suit as well, so we get rid of this distinctive characteristic that to me is rather also anachronistic. Finally, I would like to, for 2 minutes, focus on the holy month of Ramadan. Ramadan is a beautiful month for Muslims, but also for non-Muslims. I remember with so much joy and warmth the many iftars, the many meals I've been invited to over the years by Muslim friends across many parts of the world. When I was living in France, in the United Kingdom, even, believe it, in Cyprus, and before that, of course, in the Middle East. The sense of bonhomie, the sense of coming together when Muslims break bread together, when they say prayers, when they sort of try to be helpful to others, when they are into almsgiving. All this is part and parcel of Ramadan. And one thing that struck me and brought it all back to me vividly yesterday, I was going on one of my walks here in the neighborhood in Kensington, and suddenly I came across a small balcony in which there were 4 lanterns. Now, lanterns are also famous for Ramadan. They're called fanus in Arabic. They're lanterns, you light the candle, and it's part and parcel of the rituals of Ramadan. I suppose many people decorate for Christmas, Muslims decorate for Ramadan. So Ramadan is a virtuous month, Shahrun Fadil, and to all my friends in the UK, in Europe, in the Middle East, North Africa, or elsewhere, I wish you all a Ramadan Kareem. And I stop here. From Northern Ireland to Easter to Ramadan. I think I've done enough hops for one Sunday. Take care and all the best.